I think that this is going to be a revolutionary freshman class on the Hill for Republicans. It's time.
James Bradley, California, District 33. Joe Collins III, California, District 43. Tamika Hamilton, California, District 3. Burgess Owens, Utah, District 4. Chris Palombi, Maryland, District 5. Buzz Patterson, California, District 7. Steve Reeder, Iowa, District 4. Phil Schaefer, Iowa, District 3. Extraordinary congressional candidates from all across our great country. The intention for today is to inspire more inclusive conversations in Congress.
We, the people of America, are going to elect people like us. I know with this group, we have a great opportunity to start delivering that for our country.
The most powerful 3 words ever put together in history of mankind was "we the people." We have an opportunity to give a message to Americans across the board that we never have had before. Education, faith, industry, and family.
I served in the United States Coast Guard under Ronald Reagan. My grandfather served in World War I in the Army, and my father in the Navy, U.S. Navy as a pilot in World War II.
I'm a U.S. Navy veteran.
13 years of active duty.
Grandfather who at age 16 volunteered for World War I. My dad at 18 volunteered for World War II. He said the greatest thing he's ever done.
I'm a former U.S. Capitol Police officer. I worked in the House and Senate chambers. I worked in carry protection. I sat in various committee hearings.
I came in the Air Force under President Ronald Reagan. I was an officer and a pilot. I flew around the world. I was in combat from places ranging from Grenada to Bosnia to the Persian Gulf. In 1996, I was asked by the White House to be President Bill Clinton's Air Force military aide, and I had I carried the nuclear football.
My father was a World War II Navy veteran. I am a patriot that loves God, family, and our country.
32 years of serving soldiers. I was an infantry officer, airborne infantry, a couple of tours of combat.
When I have something in my heart that God puts on me heavily, I just find a way. People just thought like, this is never gonna happen. And I was like, well, you don't know God. So when March came around, I was outraised 5-1, and I walked away with 3 times the vote. That puts us within 7% of beating the incumbent. And one of the closest races in a decade. Growing up, being raised by veterans and farmers, my granddaddy's raised tobacco. My mom was a single mom. She had 4 kids. I could have been a statistic, and I could have been all the things that you hear about, but God was sovereign, and he put me in his place.
I never thought about doing anything like this. I've always said I'd never, ever, ever be a politician. But I recognize that if we don't get our house back, our kids, not only here in Utah, but across the country, do not have a chance. And now we have a president who truly gets it. He shows what it is to fight against bullies. He shows what it is to love our country first, and he doesn't apologize for it.
I remember telling my wife when I left the White House on my last day, I will never be a politician. I've seen enough of both sides of the aisle. I will never do that for a living. I think having grassroots campaigns gets us back to what our founders believed in. And when the primary, as Tamika did, we kind of shocked the world a little bit, and we're going forward to the general.
Hey, listen, team, I really am quite honored to be with all of you. You know, I've been moving around my district for about 13 months now on this journey.
People just feel forgotten. The farmers don't feel represented. The urban community doesn't feel represented. And frankly, even the modern Democrats and independents don't feel represented. I think we're past the insults. We're past the so many things that have kept our country divided. What I want to do to show that this district represents America, just a diverse of thought. And I've been able to change hearts and minds with just simply having conversations with them, and they said that they've never talked to anyone, no one's ever come to them.
There was a disconnect between some of these people that were elected to defend our U.S. Constitution and the people they were supposed to represent.
I'm from South Central Los Angeles, born and raised. Getting out the military and going back to South LA, I see the same things that has been happening ever since I was a kid, and I feel like that is a sign of poor leadership.
We got a lot of work to do. In California 7, especially during the COVID-19 situation, small businesses are in crisis.
The cost of living is skyrocketing, and as Buzz Patterson mentioned earlier, we're losing businesses. People are flocking and exiting the state, so we have a lot of issues we need to tackle.
Heavy regulation and taxation preventing businesses from growing, especially startup businesses. I found out how hard it was for those small entrepreneurs or somebody that had an idea to get into business.
Americans that love our country want all Americans to be educated. We realize if we can think outside the box, we get more entrepreneurs, more people willing to think past this, their obstacles and find solutions.
Support our local farmers. We need to support our local industry within our nation.
The homeless issue is mental health issues, it's addiction issues.
We can't forget the human trafficking, sex exploitation, us being the hub.
It's the middle class that is the class that's made our country the greatest in the history of mankind. It's a class of faith, of industry, of appreciation, all those things that happen when people realize, I cannot believe I'm finally here.
I want to take a voice to Washington that talks about what's happening here.
I love the crime, poverty, violence, gang activities. Pretty sure every single veteran on this call can tell them we've been across the world, and we can tell you that this is absolutely not normal.
In 2017, it was found out that 75% of black boys in the state of California cannot pass standard reading and writing tests. Those are kids that will never be part of the Space Corps. They'll never have the time to get on a conversation like this because they're not being taught how to think. They'll deal with the emotions. Like every bad thing we've always gone through in America, we look for a bright light. This bright light will be communicating like we never have before, because that's what Americans do. We come together, we talk, we might not agree, but we have the same end game. I'm thankful for you guys. Let's get this thing done with. Let's be the SEAL team, freshman team that goes in and really makes a difference.
If you solve the level of responsibility first and then argue about the topic, and that will go a long way toward getting the federal government back in check.
Making sure that there are opportunities for every kid with education so that they can be our next generation of entrepreneurs.
I'm excited about being part of a freshman class that will be different than every other Republican house we've ever had. It's not going to be full of elitists. It's not going to be full of people coming through to be a lobbyist one day. It's folks who come there to serve a mission, and that mission is to make sure that our country will pass our culture to our kids. I think we can give a message out that all Americans across the country will see that this is a team to get it done.
Our voices as citizens, as constituents, they're being ignored and taken granted for. And in the meantime, we're constantly seeing our individual rights and our freedoms for our citizens being stripped away, as well as reckless spending of our taxpayer money. And we need somebody who can run for office, who has love of country and love of its people and love of God.
Limited government, more faith, and more freedom. I want to get the government out of the way so everyone's on a level playing field.
The coronavirus has shed a light on the politicians that we have in office and how poor they've been with their management from the budget, how poor they've been with the management of our different communities. Meanwhile, we have people like Bus said, homeless veterans that are still living on our streets, people that our country have went to war for our country, came back home and they can't even find resources.
We need politicians that aren't politicians and are going to make decisions for the people of the country, the people of their district, not decisions based on their next election.
I would always surround myself with professionals and experts in different fields, and that's how I would do a successful real estate project. When our president came into office, he did the same thing.
President Trump has broken the mold for a lot of us.
And I look forward to working with all of you to revive the Constitution and the rule of law that we stand on, that our forefathers fought for, that we'll continue to fight for.
We point out the evil that is against every American that wants to live this American dream. We will be the team that goes to Washington and stands up for Americans the way they've always wanted the politicians to do.
We all come from a different background, different perspectives. We all walk a different path in our lives. Is ultimately, I think we all believe in liberty. It's going to be the positivity of our movement and constantly finding ways to say, we're going to find ways to better everybody.
This is going to be an unprecedented group that enter Congress.
So that's the main reason why I'm here today, is to continue fighting. And if I'm honored to be elected again, I'll be proud to serve.
I just always encourage people to, regardless of how daunting a task may seem, don't give up, because now we're in a position to win in November and make history.
We're blessed to be in this nation in 2020 and be able to come forward as citizen servants after serving our country in various roles, and get back to work. And again, it's going to be one hell of a party in January 2021 when we're all there on Capitol Hill taking the oath.
As I've heard Rob Jones say, put service before self.